How are you?
Good, good afternoon.
Yes, good
Where,
morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are listening to us from.
yeah,
Things are good. Things are changing. The seasons are changing, no matter where you are in the world. I'm sure whether you're going from winter to summer, or summer to winter, or
yeah,
fall.
that's right. Everything's moving, and I love it. I love fall. And, we talked a lot last week about trends. We talked the week before about really starting to plan ahead, right? And get ready for, 2025 now. Don't wait, which we're going to talk about again in the next couple of weeks. But we thought, all right, we'll take the next couple of weeks and just really focus on specific items that everyone needs to be aware of in the changing marketplace, in the changing seasons, to ensure that they are ready to go when they do their planning.
Well, that's the thing, and I think as we know, 2024 I feel like has been the year of change, right?
Yeah,
Definitely been the year of change. Things have happened with AI, technology, different
yeah,
things coming out. Like we're just evolving and changing so fast. So with everything else changing on top of the seasons,
yeah.
um, and we've talked about this topic a few times, but personal branding really has changed. Like this entire industry, like everyone's talking about technology and everyone's talking about AI, but in regards to how you position yourself and that brand and stuff that you put out online is also changing, right?
Well, personal branding is the number one thing that we get questioned on in terms of our coaching days,
Yep.
right? It's the number one thing, and it's the number one thing we push back at people because everyone has ideas and what they do, but they don't like kind of trim it down to their brand, and that's really where it comes from. Like people have to know what you do and what you stand for, and it's changing. It changes in
Yeah.
the marketplace at a rapid pace. So we're going to talk about, I guess, 5 different things that are really happening in the marketplace right now about personal branding and that you have to be aware of. You have to be
Yeah.
aware of so that you make sure you don't make the mistake of doing something you did back in 2023.
That was so last season.
So it's good to know. So what's the first one we want to talk about?
Well, the first one actually is an interesting one because we actually had someone come on our coaching call, and that was this is the number one thing that we were talking about. So we wanted to kick this off with a bigger one. And she literally came to one of our coaching calls and says, I want to be everything to everybody.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
and that's
and
not working anymore.
you can't do that anymore. And we've talked a lot about niching down in the past. We've talked a lot about, being that specialty in your industry. What's your
Right.
niche? That kind of stuff. But now we're talking about niche specific and content specific.
Yeah, because I think how many people have you watched on TikTok or Reels that just talk about so many different things and you
Yeah.
have no idea what they actually do, right? And so they think if you're listening, you might think everyone knows what you do, but they
Yeah.
don't. And so, and content now, we're just scrolling so fast,
Yeah.
right? And you're getting fed algorithms about the information you want. So if your TikTok is very vague in terms of covering everything, then the algorithm doesn't even know where they're going to show your information, right?
Right. And algorithms are getting very smart. Like
Yeah,
as soon as I watch, and TikTok is literally the king of the world when it comes to algorithms.
yeah,
And as soon as I watch something, it's video after video of that same content.
yeah,
So the problem is that they do need to understand what you do. And we just actually just before we jumped on here, we were talking to a client who was talking about their niche
right,
because they needed to relate to their niche. They needed to
right,
understand their niche. We needed to understand the problems of that niche. And when
right.
you really do, like people use it as a verb, like niche down. But no, like when you target that person, you really do become that expert and they can relate to you and like, oh, okay, you're for me.
Yeah. And
So,
it's so you have to it's very, very important to remember you can't control who's seeing your content.
yeah.
You're not in control. You're only in control of your content. not who's seeing your content. So because that is the truth, then you have to, again, make sure that you're very clear and focused on what you do. Because not only are the algorithms feeding people the content, I don't know if people are aware that the comments in the feeds are
Yes.
also targeted to what you want. So Stacy and I can watch the exact same video that's fed to us, and the comments that we see will be different
Yeah.
because it's showing me the comments that it knows will keep me engaged, and it'll show Stacy the comments that will keep her engaged. So you have to be very, very clear on what you're talking about when you're putting it out there. So, for example, Stacy will probably do a clip of us talking about niching down, right? And so we know where that clip will go,
Yeah.
right? It's only people that are interested in that topic. So, you really need to understand what you do, how you want to be perceived, right? Who do you want to be in the marketplace? What you want to be seen as an expert. And here's the other thing people don't really think about is when you start being perceived as that expert, that's when people are going to come to you and say, hey, I'd like you to partner with us, or I want to do a sponsorship or something. But that doesn't come unless you're perceived as somebody that's very knowledgeable in that specific niche.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So not only this is sort of the opposite. So sort of the second trend
Yeah.
that's going on right now beyond sort of, the really focusing on the who. Once you
Yeah.
have that, so, you understand what you do, you know the who that you're talking to, you understand sort of that demographic. What you offer that demographic needs to be quite diverse, right?
Yes.
It's not like you
Very.
can, we're not in a world right now where you can say, I am this person and I offer a course on this and
Yeah.
you're done.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that anymore. You need to now think about all the different, products and services and all of those things, from courses to ebooks to memberships to coaching to this to that, right? Like, you need to offer it all now, not necessarily all, but quite a diverse selection so that they can access you in different ways.
And the key really to understand is that don't get overwhelmed by it,
Yeah.
because what we're saying is we teach this a lot to our clients. We're not asking you to create different things. We're asking you to create different vehicles to carry the same information that you're giving out. So if you have a signature message, a signature talk, that you do, then we want to take that information and you want to feed it into an ebook, into a course, into coaching or consulting. So what you're doing is giving the exact same information out, a myriad of different vehicles, because that's what people expect. And we just talked about it yesterday about a different vehicle that we can actually use to put our information out that we wouldn't normally look at. But I just sort of went yesterday, hey, we're missing the boat on this. Maybe we should add this to our information output, right?
And it's not
So
that it's extra work because we already
no,
have it, right? We
yeah,
talk a lot about the fact that, again, we take our video that we do and, you can put that into an article. AI has given us the ability to take that information, but understanding that people consume content in different ways, right?
right.
It's no longer that I'm going to put in an ebook and I'm going to expect that people are going to read it. Well, what about people who don't like to read? What about the people who are podcast listeners? Maybe they want to hear your information. Maybe they want
Right.
to see a video about it. Maybe they want to see it on YouTube. Maybe they do want to have
Everyone's
a talk.
changing how they want the
Yes.
information, right? So it's not like just because you used to like to do courses or you used to like to read books, now because of all the different vehicles, you are changing and you're
Yeah.
seeing that in how the delivery is happening. So, how have you changed in terms of the information you consume? I know I have my attention span is getting shorter, right? Because that's what we're training our brains to do in the
Yep.
marketplace. So I don't want a huge, 12-week course that's going to take me that long. And we just talked to somebody about
Yeah.
this, right? About whether to release it all or go ahead and do it week by week. We're big proponents of releasing it all and allowing people to use what they want to use when they want to use it. Again,
Exactly.
that's embracing the diversity of being able to put out your products any way you want. So, and then if you want to have an option where they get dripped it out every week, that's fine too,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
But give the consumer the choice. That's going to make the difference of whether they like what you put out or not. And they will, if they're somebody that wants the information quickly, then and you don't have it, they're going to go elsewhere.
Yeah. And
So,
waiting, unfortunately, like the old school days of, a couple of years ago, of dripping that out, becomes a challenge when people lose, because again, our attention span is getting shorter and shorter. So
yeah,
if you put out this much information every week, I'm going to lose interest. And I'm just going to go find it where I'm like already in the mode to learn it. I've got my time blocked right now. I want to learn it now. I don't want to learn it tomorrow or next week.
yeah.
So, and speaking of short attention spans, our third one should be pretty obvious at this point because we've been talking
Yeah,
about this one for a really long time, and that is short form content, right? So again, the days of now, again, we'll have a conversation in the middle of this in regards to YouTube and
right.
the people who are on YouTube. However, when you're talking about short term content, YouTube shorts are becoming very popular. Again, the world of TikTok, the world of Instagram, and it's we don't have to worry about, I guess, like, again, I'm gonna come back in the day, right? Like, I feel like we're talking like 20 years ago, but back in the day, it was, focus on your one or two, social media channels and,
Right.
really focus on that, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't work like that anymore, right? The days of, only being on one or two or three are gone. And I taught that because that's the way it used to be, but we don't
Yep.
do that anymore. There's no point. We can get on all the platforms. So really taking your content and short form content, video content, and putting it on multiple platforms will help you reach your audience and really get your word out there.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you guys a simple little trick about short-term videos so you'll understand what to do with it. Treat it like a commercial, right? What do commercials do really well? They entice you and get you interested in seconds, right? Because they only have 15, 30 seconds. And there's some commercials that you watch because they're interesting, right?
Yeah.
So treat it as a commercial and then you'll know where to start. So, and I don't mean a sales commercial. I
No.
don't mean like try to sell your product. What I want you to do is it's a commercial about you, about your personal brand, about what you do, about what you offer. And it can then, if you give out really good information as commercial, what happens? They will go to your longer form content.
Yeah.
They will go to your link in bio. They'll go to whatever it is they need to find you. And I am the perfect example because what I do is I only watch shorts, reels, TikTok videos, and I go through them quickly. And then when I find one I like if I'm on a short for YouTube, I immediately go to their long form channel. I subscribe and I start watching their content. What made me get there was their short form, their shorts, their information was compelling. It was interesting enough to get me to go to the other piece. So if you don't know what to say, it's really simple. Use it as a commercial to get to your rest of your stuff.
And that's the thing, is that it's that attention grabbing, right? Like that's what that short is. It's attention grabbing. It's short. It's, they're not going through this big long introduction. They're getting to the content very quickly, right? Even in the podcast space, people are saying like they're not doing the long intros anymore. In the musical, it's, hey, this is what we're going to talk about today. Let's dive in, short little maybe intro and then the content. We're not waiting through this big thing to find out what you're going to talk about. Yes, I've looked at the title, but it doesn't matter. Same with TikToks and those short-term videos. We're jumping right in. Like when we put our shorts out there and our TikToks and reels and that kind of stuff, we're not, hi, this is who we are, blah, blah, blah. It's, this is the content. If you like it, you're going to look more and you're going to subscribe because you want to get that next piece of information. Or like they said, you're going to go and you're going to watch some of that long-term content. But the most important thing is you have to grab their attention. And if we don't grab their attention, then they're not, if they're not going to watch your short video, they're definitely not going to watch your long one.
Yeah. And there's nothing worse than somebody spending time telling you who they are. I know who you are. I'm on it says it right there on your bio. I know exactly who you are. You don't need to tell me who you are, right? That is really annoying. I will say personal, I listen to Sirius XM. I listen to Sirius
Yeah.
every time I'm in the car. I listen to my specific channels, a lot of talk radio. But here's what annoyed me yesterday. It was just yesterday. I am sick to death of listening to their intro music. I can't stand listening to it.
Yeah.
And I just want them to just go to the show. Please don't give me too long of an intro video or an intro music. I'm so serious. If you're listening, make that change because it's annoying. Because as Stacy said, we want to get to the meat, right?
Yep.
We don't want to have all this filler around us. We want to get to that pure content. So if you know what you're talking about, remember this whole thing is about personal branding, so you should. If you know what you're talking about, get to that information and stop worrying about introducing yourself. That is very the start of social media days, right? That isn't
Absolutely.
even, that's nothing in the last 5 years.
Do you know what my favorite button on Netflix is? Skip intro.
Me too. And do you notice? So I will give Netflix credit. Yeah. Do you notice they are starting into the show and the intro comes after it started?
Yes. Yeah, which is very smart. That's the trend because they want to hook you. And then they do the intro and you can click skip intro, which again, thank you Netflix for making that happen. I know other streaming channels have it too. But that goes to show that if you want it, like I'm not really hoping that I wish podcasts and stuff like that would do it, but that's irrelevant. But we're getting there, right? Where it's like, you know what? I've seen it. I don't want to see it again. I don't want to sit through your big musical, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm already a subscriber. I've already listened to you before. I've already found you. I know who you are. Get going.
So it's interesting. So we want that a time for it to kick in so that we can start, but we don't need it anymore, right? We can shorten it. We can do something that makes it a little more accessible. So, we're going to walk the talk. We're not telling you these things and not doing them. But what we do, and if you guys have noticed that, we're doing it on the fly. So when we're telling you this stuff, it's because we just figured it out. And even before we changed everything, we're telling you guys already because we want to make sure that you guys, have that ability.
Yeah, and again, on the shorts piece or the shorts, reels, TikTok world, there is no intro. We don't include any intro. We don't include any background music. We don't do it because it's just about the content, right? But if you want to look at our long form content, you can watch our entire video. And that's kind of the whole point of it. So
make your call. It's up to you guys, but it's just very important that you understand how things are moving and how people's attention spans are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. I don't even know what it's going to be like in a little while because I am shocked that I have changed so that I'm comfortable with taking that. Because now I'm like literally, you guys know who've been listening a long time, Apple News is my, favorite thing. I go and scroll on that every night. Now I have a tendency of going faster because now I'm like, oh, too long. The articles are too long. And now if you notice as well, a lot of the articles, when you get to any article, whether it's on some of the Apple News or they actually read it to you.
But they also say how long the read is. Like they'll say like a 2 to 3 minute read or a 5 to 6 minute read. So it says it at the top of the article. So you know before you dive in how sort of the time frame in which it's going to take you to consume this content. Like how crazy is that? But I think it's really helpful.
It is because there's some articles, as you know, if you read an article in like Vanity Fair, they're like, that's like a 30-minute read. It's really huge. But what's interesting now is because everyone's got these little things on Chrome or whatever, like I've got Maroon, and you can click and it'll say summarize. And then it'll summarize it in a couple paragraphs. I don't care if you're watching or listening to us right now and you say, I don't like that. It doesn't matter what you like. It matters what other people like who are consuming your content.
And you
Okay.
don't have to click that button.
No.
Like I love the fact that I can click clean read and it just puts it into this kind of text where I don't have to try to go through different advertisements and stuff like that to get
Yeah.
the content on an article. It's clean, it's there. I know the gist of it. We're good.
Yeah. So keep it in mind, guys. These are all really good tips. So you got to make sure you listen and implement. You got, I mean, the easiest way for me is, we said you've got the fall and it's time to go ahead and start. But if you're really like wanting some time, just say, okay, starting in 2025 in January, this is what I'm going to do.
That's
We
what
have
I'm
a
going to
couple
do.
months to plan it out, right?
Exactly.
Plan out what you're doing now.
And tip number 4 in regards to how this is working. So again, we've talked a lot about community. We talked last time about subscription models. We just talked today about, niching down, that kind of stuff, knowing your stuff and delivering content in multiple ways. But
Right.
the other trend, this 4th trend that's happening is how people like to consume content, and they want the sneak peek of the
Yep.
content. They want the exclusive, way of kind of getting that information. So
Yep.
how are you bringing in your community, bringing in your audience, bringing in your clients so that they can see this where maybe they can't get it somewhere else? So I feel like we went from, Facebook groups. I mean, that was a kabillion years ago where those were popular, but those became the exclusive place where people would kind of put information that wasn't accessible everywhere else. Then we
Right.
kind of moved away from the public groups. Well, those were kind of stupid because there was no exclusivity. And then you get into membership models, which is what we have, and become
Right.
a member and you can have absolutely access to everything. And our members do have that exclusive access first to a lot of the stuff that we put out. So that's where, and I know like podcasts, for example, they're bringing in the subscription model. So now you can pay a little bit of money so you can actually put out an episode specifically for your subscribers that no one else can access. So I think that exclusive aspect is really coming back where people want to feel like they are part of your community.
With you.
Yeah, and that you're making things special for them, not just you have access, but what are you doing? Like a lot of our members are part of our coaching. So that's like they get exclusive access to all of the different things that we have. So I think that's a really interesting one. I feel like we had it. We kind of went away from it, even though there was the subscription model. But I think we're coming back to the exclusive, behind the scenes, specific pieces of content that is for those people.
Well, and I think what you have to keep in mind, again, we're going to pull this back again to personal branding. What is it within that? Well, they're signing up because of you, because of what you've done as your brand, because they see you as an expert. That's why they want to be in your membership, in your subscription. If you're going to do that, make sure that that content is something that no one else can get. Because there are a lot of, especially podcasts that are doing special episodes and they're not special. They're not special. So if they're not something that people can't get elsewhere, please don't do it. Like make it that this is the place. So with us, we were very clear. If you come to our coaching every Wednesday, which is included in our membership, that's where we share what we're doing, the latest resources. And it's literally like that day, like, oh, we just bought this. And we tell our clients, we get them the best price because they're sitting with us, right?
Yeah.
We tell them what we're thinking. We're telling them what we are going to now launch. So it is information that you cannot get. It's not on our blog. It's not anywhere else in the community. It's strictly if you come to the coaching. And what we tell everyone is, look, even if you, put it in the background, whatever, listen on that day because we are not going to put this information out again. This is it.
Yeah.
This is the only time you'll access it. And that's really interesting. So a lot of people, for example, are doing Patreon accounts and stuff that you can pay for access to information. But again, is it information that is truly exclusive or is it just a live Q&A or something? Like, what is it that you're giving people? It's always interesting to me when somebody says, access this information, but you look on the other stuff and you're like, well, wait a minute, they already have a YouTube about it, and they already have, so be careful with that.
And I just think from a personal branding perspective, I think it's your integrity, right? That's really on the line when you say, this is a special thing that I'm doing for this particular group of people, for my community, exclusive access, that kind of stuff. But all of a sudden, when you also include, your Instagram live and all of that at the same time, you're
Right.
now no longer exclusive, and your community does not feel special. So I think your reputation, your integrity and stuff could be on the line. Now, doing it live and with your community one day and then putting it out there the next, that's different.
Right.
But don't say that it's exclusive to my subscribers when you're telling the world at the same time, or you're giving them the same information, because unfortunately that just leaves a little bit of an icky feeling if I'm part of your community, when I'm like, well, I didn't have to be part of your community. So now why am I special? So make them feel special, make them feel included.
We have members that only join to come to our coaching.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of really phenomenal courses and information they can access. But there are some members that just tell us over and over again, it is worth joining the community just to come to coaching. Yeah. So, and I think that's where, if you think about what you offer or where you go to find information. Some people might say, well, I don't need the courses. It's irrelevant. Right? It's irrelevant because they're coming for the coaching. So what is it that you offer? And it can stand on its own, because what you pay to join our community is still less than you would have to pay to just coach with us directly. So you're getting a really good value because you're getting everything you want, but the coaching in itself pays for itself. So what can you offer that makes it very exclusive and makes it that somebody says, absolutely, I need to subscribe?
Absolutely. And again, that ties back to what we were saying before about diversifying how you're putting content out there. So how can we make that inclusive and exclusive? I don't know what I'm saying. It's I'm like, it's inclusive, but it's also exclusive. I love
there
it. So tip number 5, because just so you were clear, we didn't want you to think that we were going to go through all of these trends and not mention AI. No. So we had to mention AI because that's just the world of today. But I think what I'm loving more than anything else, which is what I'm seeing, you may be seeing something different, but what I'm seeing is really the focus on that brand voice. Like really being able to, here's my writing, put it in. Here's my voice, putting it in. Here's how I talk, or this particular content I want in this particular way. It's not just writing it, but really focusing on that brand voice, that personalization, that writing it for a specific niche, understanding how to kind of put all of that together. But yes, AI.
The number one piece for me on branding and AI is very simple. It has opened up the world for a lot of people that didn't know how to brand themselves or how to actually say succinctly what they want to say. So if you go into AI and you've never put yourself out there because you know your concepts, but you take a lot of words, and you know what you want to say, but you get nervous or you're not sure how you're supposed to structure things. The beauty now is you can just go ahead and talk into AI about what your message is, and you can say simply to Chachi or Gemini, whoever you're using, this is what I want to say in a 30-second clip. Can you shorten it and make it whatever the word you want to use? Everybody who knows me is my word's compelling. Can you use it? Can you make it more compelling for viewers or audience? And it will take exactly your words, nobody else's, and shorten it. And then you will look at it and you'll go, oh my God, that's me. So now you know what to say when you do a video. We can't tell you how many clients we have trained on this, and it's like it's just life changing, because all of a sudden you've gone from I'm scared to do a video. I don't know if I can get the words out in a blog in 250 words. I need 3,000, right? So
Yep.
all of a sudden you're like, they're your words, they're your concepts. That's exactly what it is. But what it did is the AI shortened it, condensed it, and got to the meat of it, which is what you learn to do as an editor, for example.
Right.
So think of Chachi or Gemini as your editor, and it's editing down to the meat of what you're delivering. So
But it's still
AI
personalized. It's still your words. It still sounds like you. And I think that's the most important thing. And I think that's what makes people a little bit nervous about using AI, that I don't want to sound different. I don't want to, have this kind of robotic feel to the way that I talk, but it doesn't. And it's evolving at a rapid pace so that it does sound like you. It does sound like the way that you talk. And if you were to kind of bring that into, say LinkedIn, for an example, your LinkedIn headline or your tagline is really important. So it can write that for you, because the challenge I know that people have is they want to put so much in there and you only have a certain amount of characters. Your bio, your about section, like all of those pieces can be done, and understand that it can be personalized in your own voice. And I think that's making people a little bit more comfortable that, yeah, you know what, that does sound like me,
Yeah.
right? As opposed to sort of right in the beginning. And when it first started, people were like, well, it doesn't really sound like me. It sounds more robotic. I don't speak in that tone or whatever. But once it's trained, your brand really can shine.
Yeah, and you don't even know how you speak, really. You don't really
Yeah.
know, because when AI pulls it out, it'll tell you what the perception of your words are, right? It will tell you how that comes across, because you think one way, and again, we were just talking to a client, you think that these words will trigger one way because that's what you're resonating with, but in fact, the broader audience will not resonate that way. So it has to be, and it's great, because think about if you were writing a book or writing a blog and you couldn't come up with a title. Remember the old days, you couldn't come up with a title, and what you would do, you would go to a marketing or
Yep.
copywriting guru, and you would spend money, a lot of money, for them to come up with that information. Now you can go to AI and get that for free. So that copywriting is free, because it is giving you, and you can say, give me 20 ideas. I guarantee you'll like one out of the 20, and you'll go, wow, that's exactly what I wanted to call it. That sounds like me. It sounds like the information, but I didn't understand. So it's phenomenal. Just dive in, please, people. Dive in and try it out. I can't say it enough. Every single coaching call we do on Wednesdays, there is something about AI. We
Yep.
always pull it in to show somebody what they can do, and they're always fascinated,
Yep.
because we don't even do any prep. Somebody will say, I'm trying to do something, and I'll go, let's put it into AI and see what it comes up with. And if you're good at starting to be better at writing prompts, which we teach you if you guys are in our community, if you get better at it, you'll see that, within minutes, you'll go, wow, that's exactly what I wanted to say. Exactly. In my voice, in the way I think, but better than me, like trying to come up with words that won't come out of my mouth.
And it also, I mean, I'm having a lot of fun with one program that I'm using for our shorts, and it's like create a caption, and it's like sometimes I just have fun with it, and it's like, what's your tone, right?
Yeah.
Like it never had that before. It's here's an example, but now it's like I can make it funny, I can make it sarcastic, I can make it casual, I can make it professional, I can make it more friendly, I can, like, there's
Yeah.
all these different tones, and I never really thought about, so I started going through them because I wanted to understand what our tone is, right?
Yeah.
So looking at the different examples, I mean, we're not, the professional, this is what you have to do, right? So it's kind of playing with all of that and kind of, yeah, that's where I'm at, so that when you go to Chachi, it's actually helpful to be able to say, I really like this, but can you make it more this, friendly, casual, calming, whatever those kind of terminologies is that you would describe how you talk.
And that's important, because as we know, everything's getting more casual,
Yes.
right? the days of being, very of writing being one way and talking being the other are limited now. Most people, the conversation is friendly, it's casual, it's flowing, and therefore you take advantage of the fact that AI can help you move there, because we just talked about the fact that when you write is very different than when you speak. So try to come up with something that makes sense for you to ensure that your brand is being elevated, because you're putting out your real voice and not the one that you think you're supposed to do. Easier for the Gen Zs of the world, right? Easier because they grew up speaking and writing exactly the same, whereas you're a little bit older, you were taught very clearly what the parameters of writing were and how you could speak. I mean, those concepts go out the window now. They don't exist anymore. So I'm sorry for those of you who are getting mad at us who are traditional writers and speech writers. I get it, but like you can even see in your political candidates, right? Their speech has completely changed, right?
Yep, exactly.
And the stuff that comes out of their mouth now, like 20 years ago, you would have thought that this person would have never been able to say that in public. So the fact that you even see it at the highest level in politics means that everything's changing.
Yeah, absolutely. So get ready for 2025. Enjoy these tips and join our community, join our coaching. That way you can come and you can ask your questions and we can help you further with your personal brand.
Yeah. See you inside.